Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to Nat Fashion Hub, the best fashion channel in the world. So today we're going to learn how to cut and sew a button down shirt. The cutting and the sewing, we are doing that right in this video. So if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bell on so that whenever I drop my videos, you will be notified. Alright, so here are the measurements I'm going to use. Shoulder measurement of 17, chest 40, tummy, that is a fitting point 38, the hip is 41, and the length is 28. Alright, there's a link in the description of this video below. Click that link to join my WhatsApp group so that whenever I drop my videos, you'll be the first to be notified. Alright, so like I said before, subscribe if I hit subscribe, and let's hit into the video. Alright, and cut our shirt and sew it. So guys, to fold our fabric, we are going to consider the biggest measurement for this shirt. Alright, the chest measurement is 40, the hip measurement is 41, so we're going to consider 41, okay, to fold our fabric for the front block. What we are doing basically now is to remove the front block. When we are done removing the front block, we'll now go ahead and remove the back block before we apply our measurements and begin to cut. Right, so our hip measurement is 41 divided by 4, that is 10 and a quarter. All right, so I folded this fabric into two, you can see. So 10 and a quarter, this is 10 and a quarter. All right, you still have allowance there, so we can still reduce the folding a little. 10 and a quarter. All right, we have like 1 inch allowance here. Yeah, so but guys, remember, for shirt we are going to give button allowance. All right, so our button allowance should be at least 2 inches. All right, so if you add at least 2.5 inches, so if you add 2.5 inches to this 11.5 you have here, we'll be having 3.5, 4.5, we'll be having 15 words, we'll be having 14 inches. If you add 2.5 to this 11.5 you have here, we'll be having what, 14 inches. Okay, so which means we are folding our fabric by 14 inches because of the 2.5 inch allowance for the button. So let's push it to 14 inches. Hope you understand. Let's push it to 14 inches. Let's see if this is up to 14 inches. This is more than 14 inches. Just adjust it back to 14 inches. Right, so this is 14 inches, guys. Perfect. That's 14 inches. So we have gotten our 14 inches. So all we are trying to do now, guys, don't forget, is to get our front block. When we get our front block, we'll go ahead and get our back block. Then we'll apply our measurements and start cutting. All right. So the next thing for us to do now, we have gotten our folding, is to check the we're going to slant this here. Watch the fabric. At this point, I'm going to slant it, deepen it by what? By 4 inches. All right. But before I draw the shoulder line, I will fold this 2.5 inch button allowance. Can you see? 2.5 inches exactly. This is for our what? Our button allowance. Mind you, apart from this button allowance, what we're expected to have was simply 11.5. You can see that 11.5 there, so we are correct. So the next thing for us to do is to slant this shoulder line. You can see that. This is very simple, guys. Trust me, it's very simple. Very simple. And the next thing for us to do is to get the full length of this shirt, which is what? 28. And we're going to, at the center of this line, which is here, we're going to mark our 28 inches. 28 inches. And we have gotten the length of our shirt. Guys, if you notice, I didn't add any hemming allowance to this length. I used exactly 28 inches. Don't worry, when we start cutting, you understand why I didn't add. So this is the front block. So this is the front block. This is the front block for our shirt. Let's notch it. Now let's get the back block. So guys, mind you, what we are looking for this back block, we are looking for still, we are looking for what? 11.5, right? Once we have 11.5, that's it. So this is 11.5. So we are good to go. So guys, there are different ways of cutting this back piece, alright? There are some that carry a line at the back. If you want to do that, you can give allowance for it, but this one, I'm not doing any serious design at the back. It's just plain. So this is it, alright? So guys, very important notice. I dropped a link in my description. If you check my description, I dropped a link in my description to my WhatsApp page. If you want to be the first to be receiving my videos, please check my description below, and you will see the link there to my WhatsApp group. And hit the link and join the group so that when I drop my videos, you will be the first to be notified. Thank you guys. So to get our back block now, I'm going to first of all slant it. You can see. Just the same way I slanted the front, right? So what I'll do next is to shift this down a little bit, leaving an allowance of 4 inches up here, all right? Allowance of 4 inches. See, 4 inches allowance. See that? So the next thing I'm going to do is to fold this 4 inches allowance inwards. Can you see this? Fold it inwards. Then I will press this. Alright. This is quite simple, guys. Simple as this. So after pressing this, you see. Now let me show us that the length of our shirt has come back. The length of our shirt is 28, right? Hemming allowance is. So guys, let me show you that our shirt now has a hemming allowance. This is where the length is, the shirt is starting from the center here. Our shirt length is what? 28. Look at 28 here and look at the allowance we're having. It's up to 30. So you see, this bag that came in here brought the hemming allowance we are looking for. That is why I cut the front piece at exactly the length of the shirt. Please take note. So the next thing for us to do is begin to what? Apply our measurement. We said our shoulder measurement is 17, right? Divide by 2, that will be 8.5. Alright? So this is 8.5 plus hemming allowance, that becomes 9. So this is 9 right here. Alright? So I'm going to extend this 9. It's 9 right here. So the next thing for us to do is to get our arm. And how do you get arm? You get arm by simply dividing your shoulder measurement by 2. Alright, so my shoulder measurement is 17. 17 divided by 2 will give me what? 8.5. This is what? 8.5. But I'm not going to use it completely. I'm going to minus 1.5 inch from it. That will become what? 7. So this is 7. So this is where I'm going to mark my arm. Now watch. I will tell you why I'm minusing this 1.5. The next thing for us to do is to what? Is to get our chest measurement. Our chest is 40. Divide by 4. That will be 10. Plus seam allowance, that becomes 10.5 or 10.75 based on the allowance you want to give. I'm going to give 10.75 inch allowance. Can you see that? So this 9 I had here on my shoulder, please guys pay attention. This 9 I have on my shoulder, I'll bring the 9 here, alright? And this is my 9. Hope we are following. This is very clear. We are trying to cover our arm now. That's what I'm trying to do. So you see, this is my what? My 9. Don't see that. So on this 9, I'm going to come up here by 1.5 inch, alright? And I'll mark in by what? By 1 inch. Can we see that? That's how I'm going to curve my arm, alright? So if I have French curves, you can use them. So you see, this is how I'm going to curve my arm. I see this. If you have French curves, you can feel free to use them. If you don't have, you can still use your free hand, and you will get it. So we see this is our arm right here. Alright, this is our arm. Okay, the next thing for us to do is to identify what the tummy point, which in this case this person's tummy point is 15. Alright, this is 15 right here. This is 15. Alright, and remember we said the full length of this shirt is 28. So this is what? 28. Alright, since the shirt plus 1 inch seam allowance, hemming allowance, that becomes 29. So this is our what? Our 29. Alright. Alright, hope we are following. So on this tummy, we said our tummy measurement is what? Is 38. And divided by 4, we are having 9.5. This is 9.5. And remember, our seam allowance is 3/4, so this is it. Plus 3/4 seam allowance becomes 10.25. Coming down to our hip, we said our hip measurement is what? Our hip measurement is 41. Divide by 4, that is 10.25. Alright, plus 3/4 seam allowance, that becomes 11. Alright, so that is that. So this is how we're going to shape our top. Can we see this? This is very simple, guys. Can we see this? This my curve is not really giving me what I want. Well, let me manage. I think it's not bad. Now at the end point here, watch what I'm going to do here. At the end point here, I'm going to come up by 2.5 inches. I see right here, 2.5 inches. All right, and I will curve it this way. Guys, I see what I'm doing. This is quite simple and interesting. If you are wondering how shirts are being curved down, this is it, guys. Very simple and interesting. See right here. So next to do, before we come to the neck, we'll cut it out. Now pay attention here what I'm going to do here. I'm going to cut the front. I'm going to cut it like this normally. Now very important, I said I'll show us why I didn't use the whole 8.5 there. Now what I'm looking for is 8.5. Watch this. Can you see this? We're having almost 9. Almost 9. So if we had used this 8.5 completely, you see we're having too big an arm. That is why you minus that 1.5 inch. Hope it's taken. Are we seeing this? Are we seeing this? If you like what you are seeing so far, I will appreciate if you can hit the subscribe button and turn your notification bell on. Now for the front arm here, I'm going to curve it in again, deepen it by, mind you, are dealing with just the front now, okay? At least by half an inch. You see this? Very simple and straightforward. This is to remove the excess allowance, alright, in the front of your top or your shirt, so that it won't rumple when you wear it, okay? This is very important. So next thing for us to do is to check our neck, and the neck here is 16. So for neck of 16, simply we are going to mark 4 inches down and 2.25 inch wide, and we'll curve this. The neck is 16 I have a video on how to get a perfect neck. If you are lost, if you want to know how to do that, please, you can check in my videos. There's a video on how to cut the neck perfectly. Check in my videos and you will master anything that has to do with cutting of the neck. Mind you, I didn't cut from the down part, I cut on the front, you see. Please, don't cut together with the back piece, alright? So I'm going to open it this way and cut here like this. Now see this. So guys, like I said, I'm going to drop a video on how to sew this shirt. We're going to sew it, okay? And I said before that I have a WhatsApp group. What we are separating here rather is the button allowance, okay? The button allowance for the front piece. That's what I'm separating here, right? So I have a WhatsApp group. If you check in my description below, there's a link to my WhatsApp group. Please hit that link and join my WhatsApp group so that whenever I drop my videos, you'll be the first to be notified, right? Please join that group, it's very important. So guys, you can see we are done with this shirt. The next thing we'll do now is just to cut the yoke. Just to cut the yoke, alright? And to cut the yoke is as simple as anything. Just fold it like this. Fold this piece like this. Once a piece of fabric is, the length is up to 6-7 inches, okay, this 7 inches is fine for the yoke, alright? So you see, this is the back piece, alright? So I'll keep it this way. You see this? And I'll get the yoke. You can see there's a yoke for it, so I'm simply going to just hem it. Guys, we're cutting the sleeves too. Okay, I'm cutting the sleeves as well, so you go nowhere. So for our sleeves, guys, this is how to cut the sleeves. Very simple. For you to cut your sleeve, you first of all measure the arm size of your shirt. So this is our shirt, okay? All right. And the arm we have here, we're having allowance. We're having arm here of 10 and a half. All right, 10 and a half. So since we're having 10 and a half there, we'll simply fold this fabric by just what? By just 9 and a half. Difference of 1 inch. This 9 and a half. You can give us what you want. 9 and a half. So this sleeve length, guys, this sleeve length is 25, but because we are adding cufflinks to it, we'll make it 23 and a half, just 23 and a half, all right? And for the wrist, because it's cufflinks we are doing, all right, we're going to give it 5 and a half wideness, all right? Because the person's wrist is just 7 and a half is 7 is 3 and a half. So this is seam allowance. This 2 inches is for seam allowance plus the little dart on the cufflinks. All right. Hope that is taken. So the next thing for us to do is to identify our sleeve cap, and our sleeve cap is marked 5 inches below the beginning of the sleeve. So this marks our sleeve cap. It's our sleeve cap. All right. So from here we are going to curve our sleeve. Very simple. Just curve it this way. Can you see that? It's as simple as this. I have a video on how to cut both male and female sleeve. Alright, so please you can watch that video so that you have a better understanding on how to cut sleeves. Alright, it's very simple. So after getting our sleeve cap, the next thing for us to do is to simply, now let me show something. You can simply get a straight line from here to here. Alright, or you begin by what? Shaping it. Can you see this? Very simple, guys. Simple and straightforward. Now in shaping this, you have to consider a person's biceps. Okay, for this person, his biceps is 13, which is 7.5. all right, and the bicep is found at about 9 inches. You see, 6.5 rather. 13 is 6.5, so this is 13. You see, so this is what the seam allowance, even much more than what we are looking for. It's as simple as that. So the next thing is to get the second sleeve. And we'll do that by simply placing this first sleeve on the piece of fabric to get the second sleeve. It is simple and straightforward.
Alright, so we are done cutting this shirt. Okay, so the next thing for us to do is to go into the joining. Like I said before, if you check in the description below, I have dropped a link there to my WhatsApp group. Please click that link and join my WhatsApp group so that whenever I drop my videos, you'll be the first to be notified. And also, if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button and subscribe to this channel, and help share the video, help like the video so that the videos can go far. All right, so these are the two front pieces. Let's go straight into the stitching. I'm marking the bad side. Let's go straight into the stitching without wasting of time. Like I said, if you have any question, okay, you can drop your questions and I'll do well to attend to them.
First, this is how I'm going to press this shirt so that we'll get the line at the center of the shirt, because this line will guide us on how to adjust to get our button allowance. All right, so if you look very well, I made a notch at the end of these two lines. I'm going to show you. So this is the good side. I'm going to fold the allowance to the back, which is the bad side. All right, leaving ½ inch there for the overlapping for the button, but I'm going to press it back. I'll press it back to be just the way it was before, so that I want you to see clearly how I am going to give the allowance for the button. So I'm going to press it to be normal, how it was when I was cutting the shirt. This is how it was when I was cutting. All right, so I'm going to pull out ½ inch from the allowance I folded behind. Can you see? Look at the notch there. So I'm going to pull out ½ inch. I'm pulling out ½ inch now. Can you see that I'm pulling out ½ inch from the allowance I turned to the back? I pulled out ½ inch. That ½ inch is what is serving as the overlapping for the button. That ½ inch is what is serving as overlapping for the button. All right, so just watch how I'm going to do what I'm going to do with the allowance. Can you see this? I'm still folding it the second time so as to use my hemming gum to gum it. This is very, very simple. It's very simple. So all you need to do is just to watch how I am doing it, and you do the same. Okay, it's as simple as that. Just watch carefully what I'm doing and do the same. All right, so I'm going to apply heat so as to melt the gum and hem the button allowance. So it's as simple as this. It's very simple. In case you are lost, just take it back, watch it carefully, and you'll get what I did here. It's very simple, very simple. And we are going to do the same thing with the second piece. This is one piece of the front. Out of the two front pieces, this is just one piece. So the second piece, I'm going to fast forward it so that we'll save time. It's the same thing I did. I'm still going to repeat it here for the second piece. You know, the front piece has two. The front piece of a shirt has two pieces. All right. So the two pieces, what you do on them is the same. So the same thing I did with the first piece is the same thing I'm doing with this second piece. All right. So just watch carefully, and you understand. I won't be talking at every point, but if you can just closely watch what I'm doing without even me talking, you can be able to understand everything perfectly. All right. So I'm just going to make the notch to be much more visible. Those notches that I had already made before, I just want to make them much more visible. All right, because that is where the both front pieces are going to overlap. Okay, so that's all. So this is the yoke. All right, so I'm just going to hem it. Just going to hem the yoke. That's all. And guys, I'll appreciate if you can subscribe to this channel. As you watch, I'll really appreciate if you can subscribe. In case you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe. All right. So you see, I've hemmed the yoke, and now this is the back piece. I'm going to quickly get to the machine, join the back piece together with the front piece and the yoke. I don't think this is new. Okay, joining back piece and front piece with yoke is not new, right? But let's just do it. So that's the back piece. This is the bad side of the front piece facing the bad side of the back piece. You can see the good sides are outward. Can you see this? So bringing the yoke now, the bad side of the yoke will be outside facing up, while the good side of the yoke will be facing the good side of the front. You can just see the way I'm doing, and then I'll carefully stitch it. All right, this is quite simple as well. And one thing is that as I'm stitching this side of the shoulder, I'm going to fast forward the second side. Okay, all this is just so as to save time. All right, it's quite simple. So the second side, I'll fast forward it so that we don't spend too much time. So you see, we are done. I'm going to bring the yoke to the back now and stitch. All right, all these are not new steps. All right, steps we are familiar with. Okay, so it's quite simple. Bring the yoke to the back, stitch it. All right, yeah. So I'm just going to show us how the stitch is looking. Can you see this? The stitch. All right, very simple. So let's apply heat to the shirt and see the shape we have right now. This is very simple, very simple. Just stay with me, and within some few minutes we are done with this. It's very simple. All right, you just have to pay close attention, rapt attention, and you get this. So we are going to now trim the shoulders. You know, if there's any excess. Our shoulder is 17 for this shirt. All right, so but what look like what we have here is up to 19. So I'm going to trim is 19. Look at 17 there is 19. So I'm going to trim out ½ inch both sides so that the shoulder will come back to 18. So the 1 inch we have there will be for seam allowance. Even the arm, what we are looking for is 10. So we'll trim it a little because what we have there is less than 10. We'll trim it a little so as to get the 10. All right, and also when trimming, ensure that the back piece is not as deep as the front piece when you are trimming. Can you see that? This side the same thing. Just going to trim a little because it's already
about 9 inches, and what we need for this arm, what we need is 10 inches, right? So trimming this gives you what, 10 inches. Okay, just 10 and a quarter I have there, it's okay. So right, so our shoulder is now 18, so that when we stitch it we'll have 17. So even for the neck, I'm just going to touch it a little, okay, not much, just a little, not much, right? Because what I'm looking for is 17. So let's confirm if we have our 17. 8.5 gives you 17, and this is 8.5 you have right there. So even our neck, I'm having 8.5 here, so it's cool. The next thing for us to do is to cut our collar for the neck. Alright, so I have a lot of videos on how to cut collar. Okay, like this, the neck is 17, so what I marked there just 17. I'm marking 2 places. For the small collar, I'm going to mark 1.25 inch wide. Can you see that? 1.25 inch wide. For the length of this collar, I mark 17 because the length of the size of that neck is 17. Then for this small collar here, the wideness is 1.25 inch. I'm going to come in by 0.6. That is a little bit above half, and I'll extend the lines up. Right now I'm going to mark 2.5 inches wideness for the big collar. At the center it will be 1.5 inch wide. So using my French curve, I'm going to join these points together. All right, just extend a little, and then I'm going to mark out quarter inch allowance here. Just watch, quarter inch. I'll come up by quarter inch, then come in by 3 inches. I'll blend it together. Very, very simple. All right, so as to give my collar some kind of shape. Can you see what I did there? I curved it up there a little bit so that it won't be, as sharp as it was. This is very simple, very, very simple. Like I said, just stay with me. And so I'll just fold it this way. Instead of drawing the whole collar, I'll just cut one side and then fold it into 2 to get the second side. From experience, this gives me a better result than sketching the whole thing and cutting it from the beginning to the end. When I fold like this and stitch and cut rather, it gives me a better result, a very, very better result. Okay, that's why I prefer doing it this way. So I'm going to separate the big and the small collar, then I will go ahead to gum them separately. I'll gum them separately. Can you see this? I'll gum them separately. All right, so after gumming them, this is what we are having for the small collar. You see, this, just look at the way I did it, and then I folded the down part in by ½ inch. The fabric I made it excess there, I folded by ½ inch inside, and this is the big collar. I cut the fabric giving allowance of 1 inch, ½ inch all round. That's also the piece of fabric I'm going to use to turn the small collar, as well as that of the big collar. I made a notch at the center of the small collar. Can you see this? Even this piece I made a notch on both sides. Can you see that? So the next thing for us to do is to go to the machine. Looking at the cufflink here, you can see the cufflinks here. I made the length of 9.5 inches. The wideness is 2.5 inches by a length of 9.5 inches because my wrist is 7.5. So I made it 9.5, difference of 2 inches. All right, difference of 2 inches. All right, you can see the length of my collar is 9.5 by wideness of 2.5. So you see how I cut my collar, my cufflinks, so I cut my cufflinks. I curved the edges of it. That is just a design, okay? You can actually leave your edges to be sharp, but I curved the edges of the cufflinks. It's just a little design I want to add to it. All right, so let's get to the machine and stitch the collar. Can you see this? Let's first of all start with turning the big collar. All right, so I'm going to sew not directly on the collar gum. I'm going to sew by the side. All right, my machine needle is not touching the collar gum. I'm sewing by the side of the collar gum. Very important. Very, very important. So you see, next thing I'm going to do is to turn over. All right, but I'm going to notch it first. I'll notch it first so that it will give me a sharp turning. I'll notch it. So next I'm going to do is to turn over to turn the collar, turn it in simply, and I'm going to give it a top stitch. Okay, after this I'll give it a top stitch. Very simple and straightforward. A top stitch. This is quite simple, very simple. Just stay with me, watch carefully, pay rapt attention, and you will understand everything. Even without me talking, you can get this. Simple. I'm going to trim off a little of the excess allowance on the collar, and then I'll mark the center of the collar. I'll make a notch at the center. This notch will help me to join the small collar to this big collar. Just watch, I'm going to use this notch as a guide. So bringing this small collar, I made a notch at the center. Remember, I'll use a notch there. Even for the pieces I'm going to use to turn the small collar, you can see how I place the big collar in the middle and the small collar on top of it, and the piece I'm going to use to turn the small collar behind the big collar. So the big collar is at the middle. Just watch carefully, see what I'm talking about. The big collar is at the middle. See where I stitched and stopped? I'll continue from this side again. I'll still stitch and stop somewhere there. Alright, so I'm going to turn over and then give a top stitch, alright, on this small collar as well. The top stitch now is on the small collar. Very simple, very straightforward. Alright, so the excess allowance on this small collar, I'm going to reduce it, leaving allowance of just about ½ inch, not up to ½ inch, just about ½ inch. But first of all, I'll make this notch at the center here. I'll make it visible, this notch at the center, so that when I trim my allowance, it will still be there. So I'm going to trim this allowance and leave like just a little bit above ½ inch, okay, so that I'll use it to stitch to attach the collar to my shirt. Alright, so can you see this? I trim it, that notch is still there. So bringing in my shirt now, I'm going to identify the center is okay. I'm going to make a notch, center of the neck at the back. I'm going to make a notch. So I'm going to use this notch. I'm going to use to join, attach the collar. The notch on that collar will rhyme with the same position with the notch on this shirt. So now watch, very importantly, this side, the good side, is outside. I'm placing the bad side of the collar to be facing the good side of the shirt. This is the bad side. I'm placing it to be facing the good side of the shirt. You can see that. Please, this is the bad side facing the good side of the shirt. I'm going to start making my stitch. Very important. So you can see what I'm stitching. Stitching on about ½ inch allowance. Now getting to the end here, watch carefully what I am going to do. Alright, so you can see the allowance remaining when I gum this collar gum here is about ½ inch. The same allowance I'm going to leave here, that I'm leaving ½ inch here, the same allowance that I left while I gummed the collar gum is the same allowance I'm leaving there, so that I'll be able to stitch the collar. Alright, so just watch carefully how I'm going to do it. This second side as well, watch how I'm going to start stitching. The same allowance I left when I was gumming this collar gum here. Can you see this ½ inch allowance? The same allowance I'm leaving here, ½ inch, before I will start the stitching. I actually have quite a lot of videos on how to stitch collar. If you look at my channel, there are a lot of videos there. In case this is not, maybe because of the color of the fabric, you're not able to see it clearly, I have a lot of videos on that. If you check my channel, you'll see so many. Alright, so the next thing for us to do now is to turn over the collar. Can you see how our collar is looking now? Next thing for us to turn it over. Just watch carefully how I'm going to do it. Can
Can you see how I'm making use of this allowance I had left here before? Can you see how I'm turning it? I'll turn and stitch. My stitch now is strictly on that allowance, half-inch allowance I was showing you there. Can you see that half-inch allowance I had shown you before? That is it. I'll do the same thing on the second side. All right, the same thing will be applied on the second side. Yes, so this is it. So I'm done. So next is for us to close our collar finally. So see how I'm going to start, where I'm going to start stitching. I'm going to start here. Yep, I'll start here and then I'll stitch all around. All right, it's quite simple. Just watch closely and you'll see that it's very simple. Ensure that it is stitched properly. The allowance, the seam allowance is not showing out. Okay, it's not showing outside. So you see, I'm going to make a double stitch. All right, here, just watch. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a double stitch, but once I'm done with this line, I'll give it a double stitch. Just watch carefully. All right, so you see, this is a double stitch I'm talking about. Can you see that? So as far as collar is concerned, we're done with collar for this shirt. The next thing for us to do is to work on the cufflinks, attach it, and we join our shirt. All right, so you can see our collar. See how it's looking, very neat and very fine. So let's press the collar so that it will take the shape it's supposed to assume. All right, always remember, don't use iron directly on your fabric. I said we're using a steam iron. Okay, mine is not a steam iron, so I am using this fabric so as to prevent the iron from injuring my fabric. Okay, shining it for me. All right, so you see we are done with that. You can see our shirt is already taking shape, and all we need to do now is work on our cufflinks. Work on the cufflinks, yes, so that we can attach the sleeve and see how our shirt will look like. I'm going to give it a final pressing. Let's work on the cufflinks first. So now the cufflinks, carefully, let me show you something. You see, this is the good side facing the good side of the two sleeves. These are the two sleeves. Bad side is out, bad side is out. So I'm going to mark 2.5 inches into the sleeve here. 2.5 inches of sleeve. I'm going to mark 2.5 deep or 3 inches. I'll make a cut. Stop there. All right. I went in by 2.5 inches. Then that cut I made it to be as deep as 2.5 or 3 inches. It's a choice. 2.5 or 3 inches is fine. So this is what I'm going to use to work on my cufflinks. Just watch carefully. I'll cut this fabric to be 13 inches long, wideness of 2.5 inches. When we are done, we'll still cut out the excesses. So actually there's no problem, even if it is too big. All right, it's better to have it big than small. So I'm folding it again to be just 3/4 inch wide. I'm going to cut out this excess allowance here. You can see that. So I'm going to fold the both ends to get a V shape. All right, but I'm going to trim this allowance so that when I'm folding it, it won't be too strong at those points. What we're folding to get, we're folding to get V shape at both ends. See, I'm sorry, it might not be very close and clear, but what we are folding to get is a V shape. All right, you can see that it's a V shape, just a V shape. You can see that. Same thing on this side, I'm folding to get a V shape. A V shape. So once we are done, we'll divide into two so that we can use for the both sleeves. Okay, we'll divide into two. Can you see that? Divide into two. So another thing I want us to notice this allowance I have here, I'm going to trim like 1/4 inch off. You see, just watch. I'm trimming like 1/4 inch off.
I'm sorry the color is blending, you might not be able to see very well, but that's what I'm doing. I'm trimming 1/4 inch off. Can you see that? So can you see? If I open it, you see. So the allowance that is remaining is not as wide as that 3/4 inch I folded before. And then I'm cutting this piece to be 1 inch wide by about 4 inches. This is my cufflinks. I am placing that piece of allowance behind, that is on the back side of the fabric. I'm going to stitch it and turn it in. Okay, I'm making a notch here to enable me to turn it in. So I'll turn the little piece inside and watch out. Just watch carefully. I'm going to do it without me talking. You can still get this. It's very simple. My talk might even be distracting somebody from understanding it. But this is the good face of the sleeve. I'm sewing on the good face. The bad face of the sleeve is the one that is under. This is the good face of the sleeve. Please take note, this is a good face. So this is you can see the difference there. That's the 1/4 I removed. You can see the difference there. So I still kept it behind. I'll sew and turn to the front. Alright, so we can just look at it and you will understand. I'll make a notch here to enable me to turn it to the front. Alright, you see, just turn to the front and give the top stitch. Just watch carefully. Give the top stitch. You see this? Just give it a top stitch there. So the next thing for us to do is to close the sleeve and stitch the cufflinks. Can you see how this is very simple? Close the sleeve and we will stitch the cufflinks, rather attach the cufflinks. So these are cufflinks. We are going to start stitching. I'll just curve it a little, you see, just to resume the shape of the cufflinks. You see that? So just watch how I'm going to do it. I mustn't talk about. I'm going to keep leaving a little allowance above the same. You see allowance, the same allowance I have here, the same allowance I'm leaving there. Just like when we were stitching the collar, is the same, trick. Well, here is the same trick, just like the collar we stitched. The trick is the same. So if you actually understood that collar, then it means you don't have a problem with these cufflinks. So you see, the same allowance I left here, I'm going to leave it here as I begin to stitch this second side. And the little allowance remaining here, I'm going to gather it facing, the allowance is facing the side of the big cufflinks. Can you see it's facing the side of the big plaquette on the cufflinks? So you see, just to turn it just like we were turning the neck is the same trick. If you understood that neck, then it means there will be no challenge with the cufflinks. Alright, next thing for us to do is to close the cufflinks, to close it. I'm going to stitch not on the collar gum but beside it. All right, never stitch on the collar gum, is beside it. Either cufflinks or the collar you are doing, you don't stitch on the collar gum, you stitch beside it. Next thing remaining for us now is to close the cufflinks. All right, just watch carefully how we close it. Alright, hope you're understanding. Like I said, I don't have to talk at every point, but I believe we just looking at this, we should be able to understand what I am doing. It's quite simple. It's quite simple. Very, very simple. So I think we are done with this cuffling. Alright, we're done with it. The next thing remaining for us to do is to attach to the shirt. I'll do the same thing for the second cufflinks. I'm not going to waste time showing us that one since it's the same thing, so that we don't spend too much time. Alright, so I'm going to do the second cufflink and then we join the shirt together. So this is the shoulder. The notch on the sleeve goes to the notch on the shoulder of the sleeve. Like I said, some of these things are things we already know. How to join sleeve, we already know. Alright, so the formula is the same. Just the notch on the sleeve joins with the notch on the shirt, and then you stitch it on 1/2 inch allowance. This top stitch I'm making here is not compulsory, but it makes a shirt look more good, right? So it's actually optional, right? If you want to make this top stitch, fine. If you don't want to do it, fine, but it's optional. It's not necessary. It's not mandatorily, all right? But it adds beauty to a package shirt. That's why I do it. So I'll do it on both shoulders of the shirt, all right? And the next thing for us to do will be to join the shirt. So we'll continue the joining from the sleeve area. Alright, I'm joining on 1/2 inch allowance from the sleeve area. 1/2 inch allowance is what I'm using to join. You see this? So I've done that both sides. The next thing for us to do is to hem the shirt down. So I'm going to show us a trick on how to hem the shirt. I'll first of all do the first hemming. Can you see this? I'm doing the first hemming. When I come the second time, that will be all. Alright, it's a very simple, easy trick of how to hem the shirt. Like this, you don't really, you're not stressed. Okay, you make it very fine and with ease. So I'm going to turn it for the second time. It's double folding, but you don't fold it all at once since the edges are curved. If you want to fold all at once at the same time, it might not give you a smooth curve. All right, so you curve the first time, you stitch the second time, that becomes the final curve. All right, so wow, we've come to the end of this shirt. The next thing is for us to press it and see how it looks. All right, so look at the shirt. I've given it a good pressing with my iron, and look at what we have here. Look at the sleeve. Look at how powerful our shirt is looking. Wow, this shirt has actually took me into the night. I've made this shirt
from evening till night. Okay, it actually took me quite a while, but thank God we are done. Thank God we are done. I believe that this is simple enough. Thanks for watching.